taking a different direction here, and we've built out a marketplace, right, where we can have hundreds of apps. Because, I mean, in that same vein, right, a custom GPT wrapper, you don't have
Yeah.
a moat. Like anybody can do it, and the
Yep.
moment that I can do it, well, I'm not paying $1,000 a month. Like I'll just go build it myself.
It's almost like people give those lifetime deals on Absumo and whatnot.
Oh yeah,
And these guys, they come and say, "Well, we want to use your AI credits forever for free,
yeah.
perpetually." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course, I'd like that too. I'd like a, but that's not feasible, right?"
Can be solved, right? And it boils down to what's the ROI, right? How long does it take me to build? How much are you willing to pay? But yeah, marketplace at the end of May, going to be SOC 2 compliant, all that good stuff, right? All that security stuff out of the way. You'll be able to leverage your own connections, right? So I didn't want to run into like, well, I'm not using your OpenAI account or
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of What About AI Agents. Today we have with us Chase Friedman. He's a managing partner at Alpine Anchor, basically a solution architect, helping technology companies adopt AI technologies. He's a former managing director at Vent Technology, and he specializes in automation, AI, SEO, marketing. So Chase, I'll let you introduce yourself. Maybe tell us a bit about your background, and then we can, go ahead with some questions.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate that. I grew up, if you will, right, with the majority of my career focused on helping the SMB space, right, scale their businesses with automation and technology, focusing in on the people, the process, right, and then implementing technology that ultimately, right, leads them to bigger and better places. So worked with a ton of VC firms, right? Folks that are in that true SMB space, a good amount of nonprofit as well, but primarily focused on automation. And now, right, as everybody's trying to get acquainted with AI, it was a natural kind of segue into what I'm doing with Alpine Anchor. But been in business now for going on a year, right? And the responses, as you probably know, right, pretty incredible. People are trying to figure out how do I leverage this new technology in a way that helps me make more money or helps me spend less money or somewhere in between.
Yeah, I mean, lots of SMBs are now trying to figure out how to adopt this stuff. I mean, enterprises are great, but the decision cycle is kind of slow. So I think SMBs is where they move fast. So what are some of the interesting kind of applications that you have seen or helped implement over the past over the past year?
The challenging part about AI is first you have to understand it, and then when you do, you start to realize that, well, my business isn't built right to leverage the technology. It's certainly not to the point where I can just like, well, I need an SDR, so give me an SDR agent, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so where I normally go is show me your process. What is the process? Give me your documentation, right? And for the most part, right, it's like, well, it's all in my head, or there's some kind of very rudimentary documentation. And that's really where sort of the technology, right, even just excluding AI for a moment, starts to break down. So where I get into the weeds, right, is figuring out like where is that process? Is it in somebody's head? Is it in HubSpot or Salesforce or wherever,
Mhm.
right? And then determining where there are opportunities to leverage AI, right? To just take on little bits and pieces of that. Um, but in those moments, right, identifying like there's a lot of duplicative entry, right? There's a lot of like, well, there's just a lot of rules, right, in making this decision or whatever. When you break it down into the bits and pieces, you start to identify places where AI can help you make that decision, right? And they can do it
Mhm.
automatically. Um, but naturally, you have to educate folks, right? You have to get them on board with documenting their process, and those are two challenges in and of itself. When you get that far, then it's like, hey, this is where AI can help you, and it can be absolutely incredible. Um, but you got a long sales cycle, you got a long education path, right, to get there.
So, what are some of the common objections you hear when you're trying to sell a solution, like to potential customers? Like, what niches are you working? Like, who are sort of like the your bread and butter customers? Like,
So we've got a number of target markets, right? ICPs that make a lot of sense, and they're primarily in the industries that are either heavily regulated, right, or there's some kind of certification, or I'm thinking about the bar, right? Some kind of test, right, where the government, where whichever government you're talking about, right, is regulating that industry. So law firms, right, with lawyers, financial services with CPAs, commercial real estate, commercial construction, right? You've got engineers that are regulated. Those are the ones that you're never going to replicate those people. You're never going to have like an AI, at least in our timelines, right? You're never going to have like an AI lawyer at the Supreme Court, like, um, and those are places are ripe for this kind of transformative technology, because there's a lot of work that goes into supporting those folks, um, and they're never going to go away, right? So there's certainly a lot of people that are trying to figure out, well, how do I leverage AI to help me make more money, right, or serve more people, or bring down my costs. But those are the core that we look at. Insurance is another good one, right? Heavily regulated, not to the sense where they're like anti AI, but like there are a bunch of processes already in place for those people. So naturally, as we target those folks, like I can step into talking with a partner at a law firm and say, hey, well, I know for, at least 80% of the time you're going to operate like this, because that's how law firms operate, right? There's always ifs, ands, or buts to it, but generally speaking, those are the industries that we are focusing in on. A, because there's a lot of opportunity. B, because it's heavily regulated. Everybody has to kind of operate the same way. And C, they all have the same sort of challenges. So um, we're staying away. We're trying to stay away from bespoke custom objects. Like, hey, I'm going to help this one company do this one thing. Because what we've identified, right, when you have similar processes, you've got the same
mm,
kind of thing. We can build it one time, right, and now I can sell it over and over again.
yeah, you don't need to customize it, which is a very big thing, and you don't want to like do like some custom work for some customer to solve a very custom problem, and then you don't know where to put that in. Yeah.
Exactly. You
So
run,
so so kind of barging into the law example, like what specific agent have you helped them build so far? Like what, like anything specific? I mean, some of those things I understand they're under NDA. You don't want to kind of tell people your use cases, but
yeah. Well, the one that I go to, I think a lot of people fundamentally will understand, right? It's one of the apps that we're building in our marketplace. One of my marketing guru partners, he wants to call it big talk. I'm not the marketing guy, right? I like hammer the keyboard. But the
right.
idea, right, is you're about to meet with somebody. Generally, you have some level of small talk, right? We talk about the weather or something benign, right? But when you hop into that call, if I knew everything about you that I could possibly know, and we can easily connect on, hey, we went to the same school, hey, we worked at the same place, hey, we're in the same industry. Pop that up like right as I'm about to hop into the meeting. I don't have to go spend 20 minutes researching, right, about who you are, what you do. And so the idea behind Big Talk, right, is it's probably geared a little more towards folks that are on a lot of Zoom calls, right, Teams meetings, and they need to quickly know who is going to be on the phone, because they're in back-to-back phone calls, right? Don't necessarily have a lot of time to even go to the restroom. Um, but in that moment, right? So getting a little technical, we'll go scrape and find the LinkedIn profile for the people that are going to be on the phone call, figure out who they are, what they're good at, what they've done, even the posts, right? If they're a big poster on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
um, figure that out, and then put it right in front of that person as they're about to hop into the meeting, whether they're in Teams or Slack. Those are the two primary places where our agents kind of talk with folks. Put it right in front of them, right? And now, as I'm hopping on the phone, I can scan that message. Oh man, the CFO is going to be there. Wow, we went to the same school. Hey, Jill, saw your post on LinkedIn about blah blah blah. Whatever it says. Now you have an instant connection, and the rapport is miles beyond, right, of my common like small talk. How's the weather, right? Even before we started recording, literally, how's the weather? But we're finding that a lot of people are interested in even just the mundane stuff that just takes a lot of time, that elevates your skill set, your process, your whatever. We've just found that too many people are focusing on, well, I'm going to give you an agent that does everything. The problem is you and we can't even do everything, right? So how can we expect AI to do everything and do it in the way that my business operates, talks like me, thinks like me, all those. So we're breaking it down right into just the very smallest problems that everybody has. And so it's been really interesting to just kind of watch LinkedIn as people post. It's like, oh yeah, we're already building that. So we think we've got a giant market, as does everybody.
Right.
That's one of the first places that we're looking at.
So yeah, this deep research is interesting because I think targeted deep research is a whole niche on its own. Lots of companies are building in that, and they're creating this deep research agents that do a specialized deep research. Is something that people are not talking about, but people are willing to pay for that. Like
Yeah.
the problem is, majority of the people are not super technical. They're not going to sit around and like tune those prompts and figure it out. They just want to put some stuff in, get like a respectable answer, and they're willing to pay. And that's kind of, especially if it accelerates their business. To your point, like if it helps to personalize the conversation and make it less boring or less standard.
Exactly. It's not about, right. It's not, I mean, certainly AI is new and exciting. Everybody's talking about it, but it goes back to the same kind of like, can I just put in my credit card, right? And type in my credentials, log in to Google or Outlook or whatever, right? And turn it on. Because if you have to go beyond that, you already lost me, right? Most people are like, I can't really, I don't have time to even configure it. So we've focused on building out effectively what are apps, right? And the apps are multiple agents that do very specific things. You put in your credit card, you put in your credentials, you turn it on, and it does what we say, right? And if you don't like it, then you can just turn it off. You know, all the big boys, Salesforce, Microsoft Copilot, they're delivering you a tool set that's like, hey, you go build it, right? Here's the tools. And most of the people, they don't have time. They don't have time to do that, right? They
They
don't have
don't
time.
want to do that.
They
They
don't
don't want to
want
do
to
that.
do it. So we're not overly concerned about being to the first to the market, right? It's solving these problems in a way that's not overly complex, right? If you can't put in your credit card, put in your credentials, and turn it on, like it's too much, right? We already lost half the people in the room. So
I think I agree with you. I think there is a big market. So what the B2B SaaS was in 2016, this is the new B2B SaaS. And
yeah,
people who realize it, take it to market, launch those simple sites with simple solutions will reap the benefits. You'll get that million ARR, 2 million ARR. You don't even have to go the VC route because there is such big demand for this stuff.
yeah. Well, that's what we've identified internally, right? Is that we don't need $10 million, right? We don't
Uh-huh.
need 30 devs because AI. We're leveraging AI, our own agents, right, to build the things out that we're going to turn around and sell. And you'll see a lot of this. Like if you're clicking around on LinkedIn, hundreds, if it's probably thousands of tools that are popping up that are just like they do this one thing and they do it really well. The slight difference is that we're building out a marketplace of all those, right? So you can
Right.
just have a kind of one-stop shop. You don't have to sign up for like 40 different services, right? That's the goal.
So in the marketplace, can people list their own tools in your marketplace?
That's That's something I kind of, not that I would ever be close to Steve Jobs, right? But it's like, if we're going to have the simplicity of put in your credit card, put in our credentials, and turn it on, right? We have to have some level of control on the quality. So
Yep.
what we're doing is we're collaborating with partners, right, to come up with ideas like Big Talk, and then we're actually developing the app and then doing a revenue share with that partner. And now the only thing they have to worry about is, marketing it, selling it. Maybe they want the services associated with configuring it for their clients, right? Uh,
Mm.
but that's the direction that we're currently going. So it is like, I won't say it's locked down, right? But um, it goes back to that underlying premise, right? If other people are building it and they don't get it, then people aren't going to buy it, right? They're going to turn it off. They're going to churn.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, that's as long as you target your niche and you become the best provider of these tools, let's say for lawyers or construction companies, you can make a lot of money just selling to those. And to your point, the market is huge, and they're find a niche. Don't just like build everything for everybody that does everything generically. Because in the end, nobody will get it. You're gonna spend years trying to build that product market fit, and you need like millions and millions of dollars to convince the people that this is great. And it's not a fact it's gonna work. So find something, like build something for engineers. Civil engineers need something for their work. So find a civil engineer, interview them, get the information, build it, see, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there. One of my favorite examples that I go back to is when OpenAI came out with the API. Uh, I won't necessarily do this, but I thought this was really intriguing. This one gentleman was building out sort of like a girlfriend app, like a companion, right? And it
Right,
wasn't
right.
it wasn't anything like totally risque. It was just, hey, I want to chat with somebody that knows me and has similar. It's just a chat app. He was making $500,000 in 3 months from launching. He got pulled from Stripe because he started adding in some level of images, right? And
Yeah.
but I mean, in 3 months, he was making $500,000 in monthly recurring revenue, and that's when I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, this is gonna be absolutely monstrous." But even in that moment, right, he just did like this one little thing, right? And uh, if people were out there, right, and if you're listening to this, like this is your opportunity, and I've told a lot of people this, like, I don't want to be the guy that was like, "Oh, I had that idea," and then you didn't do it, right? Like, just do it. Just start doing something, anything at all. Because at this point in time in the world of AI, the AI era, like there's so much opportunity and there's so much money that people are wanting to spend. You just have to deliver, right?
Yeah.
Anything at all.
A working solution that solves a problem for a small niche. So take that AI girlfriend example. Don't do like something that's risque. Do it for the people who are mourning, like people die.
Oh yeah,
Connect to their Facebook Messenger, connect to their WhatsApp using MCP, grab all their data, and there you go. You have an AI clone of the
yeah,
person that died, the AI grandma. Use
yeah.
this
Oh, there was
deep
a
fake,
movie.
and there you
There was
go.
a movie like that, right?
And you
Well,
can build it like in a weekend. Like AI grandma can be built in a weekend. Bring
AI
grandma
grandma.
back, you know.
Somebody's gonna listen to this and they'll be like, I'm gonna build AI grandma," and
There
they're
you
gonna
go.
make a lot of money.
A lot of money.
The other one that I thought was really interesting, and we're doing some level of this. We call them knowledge agents. It's
Right.
effectively right. Take the one that my partner showed me. They were charging $1,000 per month, and it's really just a custom GPT wrapper. Right, load up a bunch of case law around a specific branch of tax, like tax law, and then now I can ask a bunch of questions around that, right? And it cites the sources, it tells you
Right.
which case it pulled that from. And I'm sure they're not drowning in like 100,000 users, but at $1,000 a month, like you land 50 people, right? You're making 50 grand. It's not, it's not
Yeah, but
hard at
it's like
all. And people are buying it.
this $1,000 a month startups. That's probably Y Combinator. and these guys they just buy from each other. So they get into YC and they all buy from each other. So that's how they get like it's really easy for them to hit this like 2 million ARR and raise like a big round. But then
Yeah.
they have to go to the real market and have to sell to real people and not to like their friends at Y Combinator, and that's where most of them just don't scale
Well,
because
that's I mean that's why we're taking a different direction here, and we've built out a marketplace, right, where we can have hundreds of apps. Because I mean, in that same vein, right, a custom GPT wrapper, you don't have
yeah,
a moat, like anybody can do it. And the
yep,
moment that I can do it, well, I'm not paying $1,000 a month. Like I'll just go build it myself. Like the barrier to entry is so low that a lot of the moats are just got obliterated overnight. The biggest risk that you run in building something like that is now you've got 30 clones, right? That you can just clone your entire website overnight and then start pulling from you. So you have to have something more than just a one-off. Uh,
yeah.
but like I said, you got to start somewhere.
Well, you build a decent enough system. You look how your users use it. You improve the UI. You improve the UX. You make it nice. You make it affordable. People will come. People will pay you. And again, it's like people say, "Oh, you can clone HubSpot overnight." No, you can't. It's super complicated to run these applications. I've run applications in the cloud for years, and once they grow and you get data and you get users and you get actual like you have a business in place. Like nobody's cloning that tomorrow. Like if you see says, "Oh, it's you're gonna clone that application. Three developers will write it in 2 days." No, they won't.
No, they
They will
won't.
write a crappy POC, and that crappy POC will like with spaghetti code that Claude puts out. And anyways, but people are faster, and they will copy you, and they will steal your stuff. Yes, yes, and that's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, you run the risk of not doing anything at all, right? You run
Right,
the risk of doing it too fast, right? The best thing that I've done in building out this platform is just leveraging AI to sort of force multiply what I'm already capable of doing, right?
right,
If you're not a coder and you try to code stuff, like you're gonna get gibberish,
right,
eventually. It becomes too big, too much for it to handle, and now you've got trash, right? Um, so that's the only part that I would warn people on, right? And most folks are trying to use AI to write these apps, to write a bunch of code. Well, now I've got to add this feature in. Then it puts in a bunch of gibberish. Now you've got problems that you don't know how to solve. At some point, you're going to bring in the big boys, and it's going to cost a whole lot more money than it would have at the beginning. So anyway,
right.
there's certainly risk, right? But I don't want to dissuade anybody from just trying something like build out that app
Exactly.
that you really want for your own needs, because you're going to learn way more than you ever would have if you just didn't do anything at all.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, if you make it simple enough, and it's a simple app that's easy to maintain even for AI, and you put like I said, enter a credit card, get the service. You don't want it, you don't get the service. You can get it to 5,000 MRR,
Oh,
10,000. That's wonderful. That's life-changing money for many people. $10,000 a month for a single developer means you don't have to go to the office.
right.
Is
Yeah, you can stay at home. And guess what? You can actually spend time maybe brushing up on those skills that you didn't have, right? Instead of
right, right.
working 8 to 5, driving an hour to work and an hour back. That's one of the things that I really love about just this era, again, the AI era, right? It's like um, you can go hire a mechanic, right? That's
Right.
been in it for 30 years. There's nobody, I mean, until you get to like, well, how do I build a large language model, right? But there's nobody out there that's like, well, I've been building AI apps for SMB for the last 30 years. They don't exist, right? So like you can effectively maybe become an expert overnight, with very little experience. And a lot of people are leveraging, AI expert, all that stuff. But it's really, really early on in this time frame where you can be that person. You can be the AI guy. So absolutely.
So how does one discover customers being the AI guy? So let's say somebody is listening to us and they want to go and they want to build something and they want to find clients. Like what advice would you give them to go and find like those first customers and to get because it's hard. It's hard. Finding first customers is a difficult thing, right? It's not easy.
It's the challenging part in that is that, and anybody that's probably listening is gonna be like, oh, really? Like you have to get out there and you have to talk to people. You have to get comfortable with asking. I call them stupid questions. Like, hey, this is a really dumb question. I think I already know the answer, but here it is. And naturally, people are like, oh no, well, it looks more like this, and here's where it really falls apart. Right? Here's the biggest problem I have, or inevitably people love to tell you about their problems. It's like that's why there's a whole industry of therapists out there. But in trying to find customers, it's going to happy hours, it's going to social events, right? It's getting into there and asking people what they do, and hey, where are you, what's the hardest part of your job? And when you can identify that, and then you can say, hey, I think I can solve that, right? It's like, can I show you something that I built? And naturally they're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. How much is it? And the next mistake is like, well, it's only $10 a month, right? Because they probably would have paid $1,000 a month. Finding customers isn't hard. Finding the same customer over and over again, right, is probably the hardest part. But most people, even being a slight introvert myself, before I got it heavy into consulting, it's like, oh, I have to get out and I have to talk to people and I have to think of what to say and what are the questions I got to ask. You just have to do it over and over and over again. And eventually, like, you get used to it, right? Eventually you figure out like, oh, well, these three people are all lawyers and they all kind of have the same problems. You
Right.
start to identify the patterns. I had a guy ask me in a virtual coffee a similar question, and part of that challenge is like that's just not me, right? I'm not the guy that gets out there and talks to a bunch of people. Like if you can't do that, then you got to find some other way to do it. Whether it's on LinkedIn and posting about the same topic over and over again, that works really well. It's asking people that you work with, like, hey, what are the problems that you struggle with in our business, right? Getting people to talk is the easy thing. Finding them and getting the motivation, right, to actually do it is probably more challenging.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm also a bit introverted. So what helps me at this type of networking events is I set myself a target. I'm gonna go talk to 20 people. I talk to 20 people, I go home. And I do that. And
Yeah,
once you talk to 20 people, you might not want to go home. You already like you kind of get into the groove of it, and then but you have to talk to 20 people. Start with 5, start with 10,
yeah,
but
yeah.
get something out of it. Get 10 business cards, send them all an email, but that kind of it helps you build that momentum. Eventually, you get used to having the same. It's boring because sometimes you end up having the same conversation over and over and over again, but in many cases people will surprise you and they will tell you stuff that you're like, oh, that's interesting. Or but I guess if you're looking for the repeat customer, you're looking to have the same conversation over and over again because you've already closed that deal, right?
Right. Well, one of the things that another partner showed me, he's not a tech guy, but he loaded up just like all of his emails, all of his LinkedIn posts, and basically wrote a custom GPT to help him figure out like what are the problems that these types of people have, right? And who are those people that I should be talking to? Because it's very easily, like you're saying, those 20 people. Well, if you talk to 20 people that don't get you in the direction that you want to go, like I want to talk to lawyers and CPAs, right? And insurance brokers. Well, if they're not in the room, then I'm wasting my time, right? Because I'm not going to find those people because they're not there.
Well, you won't know unless you talk to people.
Exactly. Well, you got to go to targeted events, right, and things
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, of
that.
course, of
But
course. Yeah.
naturally, if you before you even get in that room, right, you got to figure out who you want to talk to. Because if you don't know, well, you're going to talk to everybody, and you're going to end up wasting time finding out that those 20 people that you talk to are all in an industry that you don't want to be in. So
Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously you're not gonna go to like I don't know, some like real estate conference and try to find customers that are lawyers. Unless you're looking for real estate lawyers that close very specific deals, and then those will probably be there. Like you find events. Every city has events. People gather, they network, and you get to meet a lot of people. And eventually, you build relationships with them, and they give you introductions. And like most of the business I got was from just meeting people, people giving me introductions, and then me following up on those introductions and getting that business, and then that business would give me other introductions. And it's like a network effect, right?
Yeah. Well, that's where I think a lot of people are doing this. You can leverage ChatGPT, Claude, right, to ask these questions that
Yeah.
you and I are asking each other, right? Like,
Yeah.
how do I meet more people? Just ask the dumb questions because ChatGPT, Claude, right? They don't judge, so like, I don't.
Right.
They'll give you a bunch of great answers. One of my favorite actually didn't come from Claude. It was from one of my buddies, right? He said you need to join a business networking group, and me
Right.
being that slight introvert, I was like, oh my gosh, like this just sounds dumb. But then I got in it, and then I realized like, well, everybody's there for the same thing, and now we all exchange, contacts because that's what we do. So
Right.
business networking groups, some kind of social club. So I'm a part of the Fort Worth Club. It is sort of like
Right.
a business club, right? And everybody
Right.
goes, is very social, but everybody that is there are the people that I actually want to talk to. So it's a it's a challenge to start up a business because I might be just the coder, right? And I might just be the accountant, and that's it. It certainly takes a level of entrepreneurial spirit, right? A little bit of determination to figure out like, well, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it no matter what, right? And then maybe some level of experience on like, at least I have a general idea on how a business should run. But once you get past that and you get over your like friction of like, oh, I have to talk to people, like the customers are everywhere. Like they're literally everywhere. They're waiting for you to solve their problems. All you got to do is talk about it. And that's why bringing up AI and agents, like people are naturally, trying to figure out what that all is about. They have an idea of what it can do. And when I say, hey, I'm the AI guy, they're like, oh, I haven't even done that yet. They will tell me all day long all of these great ideas they have. And boom, I've got a ton of leads. And I haven't even really talked about what I do yet.
Right. So now to kind of shift gears, where do you think this tech is going? Like, what should somebody start looking into? Like, what should people be learning at this point to actually to keep up and to start something?
I probably have a different answer than maybe some other folks you talk to or what you see on LinkedIn, but because well, we mentioned this earlier, right? I don't need $10 million to scale my company, right? I don't need 30 developers. I don't need an offshore team,
Right.
right? Because of that, we're going to see a plethora of startups getting to be 10 million in ARR, right? And it's going to be like five guys and girls, right? But it's going to be five people, and that's it. And they don't get bigger than five people.
Mm.
RB2B is a great example of this. They blew up overnight. They're making a butt ton of money, and it's still like five people. That's it. So my warning in my call to action to anybody asking that same question is, like, you have to think about that this next generation of businesses are going to be built off of a tech stack that doesn't require a lot of money and it doesn't require a lot of people. If you're not like the founder, or if you don't want to be the founder, right, I'd be looking for that founder, right, that is interested in doing what the RB2B guys did, right?
Right.
That's your easiest way into something like this. But I think that's where all of this is going, is effectively, right, I can build up very successful businesses in a very short amount of time with very little resources. And it's a land grab, right? Like you can do it. There's nothing preventing anybody from doing this anymore. You can just get ChatGPT to start writing code, and then you can download Visual Studio Code for free. Like you don't need any money to do any of this. I've told a lot of people that I didn't make like a giant investment of my own money into Alpine Anchor because I said, and I knew this early on, like if I need to invest more than like $100,000, then I'm not doing it right. Like you don't need the money, right? Obviously, there people are in various stages of their life and career, and maybe they've got like $100. You need some level of runway, right? Because you're going to need QuickBooks. You're going to need some kind of Excel, whether it's Airtable. Like you have to have something, but not nearly as much as you did. Effectively, the barrier to entry here, right, to track towards that freedom that everybody wants is now much lower.
I agree. I think that's the biggest catalyst for change right now. So, and where do you see yourself? Like, where do you see your company? Like, when is your marketplace launching? When is it going to be available for everybody else to use? Like, when will we be able to like post our stuff on your marketplace?
Yeah, the goal is to launch it publicly to everybody at the end of May. Right now, it is available for sort of the B2B setup.
Uh,
It's single tenant focus, and that
focus.
was my primary concern in building all this out. So leveraging infrastructure as code to automatically deploy resources, right, on Kubernetes servers.
Yep.
So I wouldn't have to run into like, well, I don't want all my stuff in the same box as everybody else's. I don't even have that problem. So it's built out, right, in a way where I can go to that B2B setup, right, and I don't have a ton of objections.
Right.
Cost or the cost side is probably the one where hey, this is worth more than you're willing to pay, so I'm going to go talk to somebody else. The B2C side of the things, right, there's a little more homework to do on that front, generally to make it look better, right? I'm a tech guy, so the marketplace looks very techy. This doesn't have all the CSS to make it glamorous and things like that. So we're just spending a little bit more time on that front, so people can literally log in and put in their credit card and put in their credentials and then turn it on. But yeah, we're aiming for the end of May. It might slip into June. I mean, we're not in a rush. We've landed a good number of B2B clients where it's like, I don't know, maybe we delay it, but we're not hurting for customers like I was talking about earlier, because everybody I talk to, is a lead, wants to be a customer. The biggest problem I have is picking the right problem to solve, because all of them can be solved, right? And it boils down to what's the ROI, right? How long does it take me to build? How much are you willing to pay? But yeah, marketplace at the end of May, going to be SOC 2 compliant, all that good stuff, right? All that security stuff out of the way. You'll be able to leverage your own connections, right? So I didn't want to run into like, well, I'm not using your OpenAI account or your Anthropic. Great. Slap in your API key and use yours. It's the clay model where you can use your connection or you can use ours. And then between the different services, you can pick and choose like, well, I want OpenAI to run through mine, but for this other service, sure, run it through there. I don't have a big concern on that front.
Yeah, I mean, democratizing the keys, I think, is really important because people don't want to overpay for that usage. Many companies try to like overcharge you and like put margins on top of that, and I feel like it's dishonest in a way that people kind of that pushes them to go build their own stuff. And if you tell them, look, you want to use your own key, no problem, here you go, be my guest, like every
Yeah.
day.
Well, it is. I think the key part, maybe a key takeaway from actually that anybody's building is because the underlying technology, like the large language models, unless you're just self-hosting it, right? It's all usage based. Like you can't get away with, hey man, it's $30 a month. Well, inevitably you're gonna it's gonna get blown up, right? And then somebody's using $60 worth of costs, and now you're losing money. So
Right.
the one tip for the tech people out there, right, is to go after sort of transaction based pricing or usage based pricing. And I'm not a heavy user of Clay, but their commercial model was genius. It's like, oh, I can change the underlying cost by flipping out my connection versus yours, right? And I control the spend. In historical SaaS, it was like, well, I need it to be 10 grand a month, right? And no more. I need to budget out the forecast. Well, you can't do that with usage-based pricing, right? You just turn it off,
Right.
And if you're overusing it, well, then you should be getting an overusage of value. At which point it's like, well, yeah, let's keep paying, But that's the biggest tip that I can give folks, right? Is don't say, hey, it's $30 a month, because inevitably you're going to lose money on those folks, and then you're going to have to say, well, it was 30, but now it's actually 60. Sorry, y'all, right? And you run into like a ton of churn because people are frustrated that you raised the price on them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to have usage metered, and you have to prevent yourself from having these overruns, because people will overrun you, and
Oh,
then you just
absolutely. Well, I mean, thankfully, we've seen over the last 18, 24 months, right? Like as the models get better, the older models get cheaper, right? But if you want to stay on the bleeding edge, like the most recent models are obviously the most expensive. So if you don't have the ability to flip out the model or increase your internal capabilities because they want to switch to, Gemini 2.5, right? Well, if you're still charging $30 a month, now your profit margin just flipped out the window. So anyway, most people don't think like that because it's, I'm just single-minded focused on, I want to solve this problem, but you have to think larger than that because the models are going to keep coming. They're going to keep getting better. The underlying cost is going to change every day, like you have to prepare for that. And if you don't, inevitably you might make $10,000 a month, but you're going to run into, a constant churn of underlying costs that just rip out your profit margin. And now it's not worth it anymore. Now you've got a 10 grand a month problem, right? Where it's like,
right.
hey, I've got all these customers and it's costing me $2,000 to make $10,000. So,
Well, it's almost like people give those lifetime deals on Absumo and whatnot.
oh yeah,
And these guys, they come and say, well, we want to use your AI credits forever for free,
yeah.
perpetually. And I'm like, yeah, of course, I'd like that too. I'd like a, but that's not feasible, right?
Well, I think Lifetime made a lot of sense, right? When it was, an executable, right? Great.
Right.
Download it one time, now I have to only worry about supporting it, right? And enhancing it. But things have moved so quickly to transaction based, right? That everybody that's sold sort of on a user license or on a per month basis is now trying to figure out, how do I transition? Even Salesforce is doing this. How do I transition to a per whatever cost? You see this with Agentforce. It's like $2 a conversation, which is absolutely absurd. But they can't bite into, right, their existing contracts because you can't change the contract overnight. So it's quite the challenge for existing, maybe call it like 2020 prior technology or SaaS companies.
Yeah, the transition is brutal because now you have to start charging people usage, and you have to have these credits, and you have to have these limitations. And even if you were running your own AI models, you always have to limit the usage, because otherwise that usage is going to eat you alive. That's your profit margins. That's what makes or breaks your business.
Absolutely. And I mean, for younger folks out there, people are just dabbling. It's like, you don't really think about that until it's too late, right? And now it's like, oh shoot, I've got to go from $30 a month to 10 cents a transaction. Everybody that signed up for $30 a month has an expectation that it's always going to be $30 a month. When in the reality is like, well, I'm leveraging your technology to scale my business at $30 a month. And what you're telling me is now that it's $3,000 a month. Like I have to redo my whole commercial model myself.
Right.
And that introduces a ton of frustration.
So always put those credits, like to your example, like Clay, I don't know, $50 a month, and you get 100 AI credits or whatever number of credits, and then make the stuff that people usually charge for in SaaS unlimited, and then you just focus on getting people to scale those credits and make sure you have a good, healthy profit margin around that.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, maybe a really lame example, right? But just to dumb it down,
Right.
there are not many restaurants out there, right, where it's like, hey, for $50 a month, you can eat however much you want. There's always some sort of limitation. Red Lobster did it for a while. Olive Garden keeps trying to do it. but there is a limit. They close at 11 o'clock, right? Like you can eat all you can eat. You can't take it out, but you can eat whatever you want until we close. Well, there's a limit, right? There's always some kind of limit. So if you introduce unlimited, you're gonna have unlimited pain, at some point down the road.
Yeah, even those buffets, they have like a 2 hour limit because they don't
Yeah,
want to, like some people will literally camp there and they will,
yeah, they'll be
I
there
don't know,
all
they
day.
will do all kind of nasty things to keep eating it. Like it's just like I don't know why, but it's just like
It's like that. There was a movie from the '90s. It was like the Millionaire Check. It was about a check where the kid had a blank check and he wrote $1 million. Anyway, one of the scenes, right, is at the buffet. The guy lined his pockets with Ziploc bags, and he would stuff food into the Ziploc bags to like get the most amount of value out of it. I mean, that's probably something to think about, right? You're inevitably going to have edge case scenarios where they're going to blow it up. Like they're going to over leverage it, and you're either going to have to find a way to get rid of them, right? Or you're going to have to plug the hole in the ship, or otherwise the ship's going to sink.
so just don't build it with a hole to begin with. And
Yeah.
that's gonna save you so much headache down the road. Some people will say, "Well, we don't like the limitation of the credits," but guess what? You're not look. You can offset the pain of these credits. You get those like Microsoft's for startups AI credits. You can get 120,000 over 2 years.
Yeah.
This can help you offset a lot of this
Yeah.
for 2 years, definitely. But again, like
What do you do? Well, I have to give a plug to Microsoft Founders Hub. I know AWS has something similar, but we got in, and
it's amazing.
it's great. Probably to our own detriment, right? Because we're building on the platform because of those credits. So eventually, obviously, we're counting those costs despite getting them sort of for free. But um, not that it's sunk costs. Like we're effectively building on their platform, right? And so we're tied, maybe not forever, right? But at least for the next good year, right? We're tied to them. So, but there's certainly like, if you're wondering, well, I got to build this stuff on a platform like that, right? And it's going to cost a lot of money. Well, they're willing to shell out, a good amount of credits or cash or usage to make sure that if you blow up, like, well, you're not really leaving.
I wouldn't. I mean, like if because they have your back. Look, AWS they can give you like 10 grand in credits,
Yeah.
and then unless you're affiliated with some like hotshot VCs from Silicon Valley, they don't give you anymore. Google they gave me I think like $2,000 in credits,
Oh,
and
nice.
Microsoft Founders Hub they give you $125,000 in credits over 3 years, and they support you and they give you all these things and discounts and here, and you're like, why would I go with AWS or Google?
Yeah.
If Microsoft has like the best deal in town, like period, nobody has a better deal. This is the best deal because if you're bootstrapped and you don't have like I don't know, big Silicon Valley VC backing you, Microsoft is is the partner.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah,
that's probably like one of those secrets, right? That not that I don't mind telling people,
yeah,
but with 120 grand, if you can't build something that blows up, then it goes back to like, well, I didn't want to put a lot of money into Alpine Anchor because if I can't do it with the tools and the knowledge that I already have, then I need to go back and flip burgers, right? Like I'm never going to do it.
right, right.
But I'm right there with you. Founders Hub is a pretty sweet deal. So if you're not on it, right, or you haven't checked it out, you totally should.
Yeah. Well, look, Chase, it was great to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit more about Alpine Anchor again. Who should reach out to you? What kind of customers you're looking for? If there's people who are listening, who are you looking to get in contact with you? How do they get in contact with you, and how do they work together with you?
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the elevator pitch, right? We built out a marketplace that allows you to leverage AI that scales in a way like I've described throughout the episode. Where I really get excited, right, are those people that are, they're founders, they've got co-founders, they've built, a little bit of something. Those are the most fun to get into the weeds with because you don't have a large amount of tech debt, right? Or, hey, it's in everybody's head, But then a really sweet spot are those sort of five ICPs, right, that I talked about because
Right.
you're not too big where there's just so much red tape. You're ripe for like leveraging this technology to jump over your competition, right? You don't need 10 million more dollars. You don't need 30 more people,
Well,
um, but we're helping companies do it. Like, this isn't just like, well, Chase has a cool idea, but if he can't deliver, I'm already doing it for folks. And it's absolutely incredible, the amount of energy that's going into this, because some people are like, well, he's going to take away my job. Like, no, we're going to scale your business to make more money with less, right? Which means you have more time to do X, Y, and Z, right? Whether it's climbing a mountain, really big on nature and outdoors. So we're big on doing the whole climbing thing, summiting, your mountain. But it does go back to, like, you have to have desire, right, to scale it, to get into cloud based technology. Like, it doesn't work with pen and paper, right? But yeah, we're launching. We're going to launch publicly at the end of May, and maybe there'll be a big explosion, and I'll be hard to find, maybe, hopefully, and if not, then I might be flipping your burgers. But yeah, for the time being, really interested in talking to anybody in the law space, commercial real estate, commercial construction, insurance. I mean, you don't have to be in there. Everybody can use AI. You just have to have a really good idea that's proven successful, right? You've got a proven process, and there are spots within that process that you could leverage AI. Those are the people that I want to talk to.
all right. Well, this is Chase Friedman. We look forward to seeing you have your launch, and maybe we'll have you back on the show to discuss how things went in 5 to 6 months. And really, really good to have you. Thank you so much for joining today.
Likewise, thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, Chase.